Hello and welcome. I'm Amritanshu Rai and you're watching Law of the Land on Rajya Sabha TV. Today we bring to you the Forward Contracts Regulation Amendment Bill. The bill seeks to create policy for insider trading and allied issues in the commodities market. To discuss the issue, I have with me Mr. Venkachari, Chairperson MCX and former Chairperson Forward Markets Commission. I have with me Vandana Bharti, AVP Research Commodity, SMC Global Securities Limited, and Dr. Sanjay Sehgal, Professor, Department of Financial Studies, Delhi University. Now for the headlines. The bill amends the existing law to provide for stringent policy to contain unfair trade practice and insider trading in commodities market. The bill seeks to punish violators with penalty from 25,000 rupees up to 25 lakh rupees. The Parliamentary Standing Committee recommends increasing penalties manifolds. The Parliamentary panel recommends including provision for a selection committee which may select names for the post of chairman and other members of the FMC. The government has proposed stringent policy to contain unfair trade practice and insider trading in commodities markets. The proposed Forward Contract Amendment Bill seeks to punish violators with penalty from 25,000 rupees up to 25 lakh rupees. The bill also seeks to grant autonomy to the Forward Markets Commission to take independent action in such matters.
If you are a businessman in commodity market facing problems with insider traders, or a farmer who is not receiving the exact price for the crop, or unfair trade practices in the market spoiling your profits, you will be able to approach the renewed Forward Markets Commission to end your woes. The proposed Forward Contracts Regulations Amendment Bill seeks to provide autonomy to Forward Markets Commission. The bill transforms the role of Forward Market Commission from a government department to an independent regulator similar to SEBI.
We need to understand that the markets develop only when there is a right kind of regulation, when the regulator has teeth, and regulator has not only is the capacity to take action against the defaulters, but also has the capacity to identify what is happening and what is not happening.
Insider trading in futures market is a main threat to farmers because there is a huge amount of fund is involved in the transactions in futures market. The bill redefines the expression of forward contracts to include commodity derivatives and corporatization, demutualization and intermediary. The bill proposes to authorize Forward Markets Commission, FMC, with all powers to control and monitor trading. It also intends to make the FMC independent of government's purview in execution. The bill increases the number of members in Forward Contracts Commission from 4 to 9. The bill proposes to make provisions for registration of members and intermediaries to allow trading in options, in goods and in commodity derivatives. The bill extends the period of ready delivery to 30 days. At present, the ready delivery contracts need to be delivered and paid for immediately or within 11 days.
This is going to redefine the ready-made contracts and the forward contracts very clearly in terms of international demarcations. So instead of having an 11-day window for physical deliveries, now you are expected to have 30-day window, which is fine with international benchmarks given the transportation issues about commodities and their movement across states when physical delivery comes. And that's the standard international norm.
The department-related parliamentary committee in its report on the bill has recommended that proposed minimum penalty be increased to 5 lakhs rupees and the maximum penalty should be increased to 50 lakh rupees. Rajkamal Rao, Rajya Sabha TV.
The Abhijit Sen Committee did not find an inconclusive relationship between futures trading and inflation, which has been a big concern for the government. But before we come to this issue, I would like to ask you, Mr. Chari, how will the amendments actually help in, you've been with the FMC and you've seen it there with the government as a department of the government. Now, if they're planning to make it autonomous, how do you think it will be better and much more efficient and more professional?
Amritanshu, this amendment will make the FMC as powerful a regulator as SEBI. It is ridiculous that even today the FMC is only a subordinate office of the Department of Consumer Affairs. This status had to change. And even when I was the chairman of the Forward Markets Commission, I used to represent the government repeatedly that this status has to change the perception of the Commission in the minds of the public, in the minds of the participants, the stakeholders, will change only if there is a change in the status of the Commission. And that's what this amendment bill.
So finally, your argument has been accepted by the government, and we move
delighted.
on. I'll bring in Mrs. Vandana Bharti. See, the whole point about the amendments, especially the insider trading and inflation linked with the issue that the government has been grappling. Now, Abhijit Sen Committee has completely come forward and said that there's no correlation between the two. But do you still think that the matter is settled, or we need to continue to discuss, understand and verify linking inflation with the commodities market?
Actually, many times it has already proven that there is no linkages between the future trading and the price rise of spot market. Because in many cases, we have seen that prices of spot market and future market, they rose simultaneously. So actually, this is a platform which is providing the hedging mechanism, and this is providing the price discovery mechanism for entire world. Even farmers, they are getting benefits from this market. Because if we talk about past 10 years, if we go back to past 10 years, like farmers of a particular village, he doesn't know the prices of a particular commodity which is happening in the spot mandi there. Now it is quite visible that even farmers, they are referring these exchanges, and that's why they are getting their fair prices of their produce. So anyway, this market is helping the core farmers of Indian market. And yes, this debate should be continued in a fair way. But yes, it has already proven that there is no linkages between the price rise of commodity in future.
Professor Sanjay Sehgal. Yes, sir.
Amritanshu, and Vandana, to add to what you said, it's not only the Abhijit Sen Committee which has said that there is no link between price inflation and futures trading and commodities. The Reserve Bank of India, in its annual report last year, came to the same conclusion.
Re-emphasized it.
Re-emphasized this point.
Right. Professor Sanjay Sehgal.
Can I add to what she's saying?
Yes, please do. And also, you'll have to answer the question that institutionally, the way this entire thing is moving forward, we have one big setback as far as the infrastructure aspect is concerned, the warehousing aspect. And I would like you to address that issue as well.
As a researcher, as an academician, when we look at these markets, at least markets are supposed to fulfill certain principal roles. As she mentioned, they ought to be price discovery mechanism. And that's a fact, because India now is the largest producer as well as consumer of most of these commodities, like most of the Asian giants like China. So it's ripe time that we take a lead and start doing the price discovery role, rather than CBOT or, say, London Mercantile Exchange discovering these prices for us. The second part, as she rightly mentioned, is the price risk management. It is not only the farmers, it may even be the industries in terms of their exposure to base metals and energy products. If you look at these overriding benefits of commodities trading, especially when we talk about trading, we talk about futures trading, then even if there are so-called mythological price destabilization effects, which nobody has actually discerned, still I think the benefits outweigh in favor of trading. But going ahead with what your Abid Hussain committee does, see, there is one part which is based on opinions and surveys, where I speak to people and try to understand what are the inflationary effects. The second part is actually doing a diagnostic study to actually see what has happened. Evidence, say, from international markets, which are comparative markets like ours, we've gone through, say, so-called BRICS markets. What we found is that when you build up a relationship between futures market liquidity and your spot market volatility, there is no significant evidence which has been tracked anywhere. So in light of those issues, I feel that futures trading doesn't need to be debated anymore. I think it needs to be strengthened.
And settled for all.
Settled for all.
Once and for all.
Yeah, once for all.
I'll bring in Mr. Chari. This is the good aspect, the feel-good factor about the FMC and the commodities market. The inflation aspect has gone. Now you've got a proper institutional thing. You've got your autonomy. It'll be able to perform better, be more professional, take action in a more dynamic manner. What are the pitfalls? And you have to be brutally honest. What are the setbacks, what are the issues that this bill does not address?
Now, before I come to the pitfalls, I would like to add one more positive aspect. You know, the focus of the world, financial world, has shifted from the west to the east. With all the constraints today, in the commodity derivatives industry, my company MCX is now number 3 in the world. It's not only number 1 in India, but number 3 in the world. Number 1 is Shanghai, number 2 is the Chicago group, and number 3 is MCX. Now, as a result of this act, or the amendment being passed by Parliament, India will become the price trend setter for a number of commodities. For example, economists agree that as much as 40% of the world's gold stock is in India, in the shape of jewelry, or women, and various other holdings, so many other things. MCX is now number 1 in silver in the world in trading, number 2 in gold, and number 2 also in gas, natural gas, and number 3 in crude oil. With this amendment and the chain of forces that it will stimulate, I am sure that India will become, our exchanges will become number 1, number 2 in the world within 3-4 years. And this is going to be a matter of great national pride to us. Right. We will overtake Chicago, we will overtake Shanghai within the next few years.
On that note, it's time for us to head into a break. When we come back, we will tell you about the government, what the government plans to do with the grant of autonomy to the Forward Market Commission on the lines of SEBI. Welcome back. The central government has been facing difficulty in monitoring 113 varieties of commodity derivatives, the business worth of which has increased to over 100 lakh crore rupees in the last decade. That is why the government now proposes that pricing of all futures will be regulated by the Forward Market Commission, FMC. The bill proposes to restructure and strengthen FMC to control price fluctuations in the commodities market.
The increase in futures of turmeric, sugar, pepper, cotton, oilseeds had made the empowerment of regulatory body imminent. The Forward Market Commission will now be expected to control the price hikes in futures. Lack of communication and interaction with farmers and producers is the main problem with the existing Forward Markets Commission. The amendment says there will be a 9-member committee which will constantly interact with the producers and farmers to give them suggestions regarding the cultivation and production of futures in the coming years.
At present, the market is neither deep nor balanced. A majority of vast majority of the trading is either in metal or in energy, and agriculture commodities are not an important part of the trading volumes, not accounting for even more than 1/4 of the trading volumes. So we need to develop markets for all kind of commodities.
The proposed 9 members of the Forward Market Commission FMC will consist of a chairperson, 2 members from the ministries or the departments of the central government dealing with consumer affairs, commodity derivatives and agriculture. 1 member will be from the Reserve Bank of India and 5 other members will be chosen from various public distribution sectors.
As on today, they cannot impose penalties in monetary terms. So surveillance and monitoring of positions of member brokers becomes difficult for them, and even if they have to collect certain funds from the exchanges, it will be difficult. So many more reforms, if they want to introduce in this commodity market, it will be difficult for them without the independent power.
The Commission will have the powers to impose penalties to prohibit fraudulent and unfair trade practices relating to commodity derivatives markets. All sums collected by FMC by way of penalties will have to be credited into the Consolidated Fund of India. FMC will be vested with the powers to grant or withdraw recognition of any association to prohibit insider trading in commodity derivative. FMC will be able to advise the central government as to which forward contractor or options in goods or options in commodity derivatives need to be notified to secure farmers. FMC will also be able to set up a research wing, research development and regulation of commodity derivatives market.
This is going to redefine the ready-made contracts and the forward contracts very clearly in terms of international demarcations. So instead of having an 11-day window for physical deliveries, now you are expected to have 30-day window, which is fine with international benchmarks given the transportation issues about commodities and their movement across states. when physical delivery comes, and that's the standard international norm.
The central government has retained final authority to prohibit forward contracts or options in goods or commodity derivatives. The central government will also retain the powers to issue directions to the FMC and to supersede its directions in certain cases. Rajkamal Rao for Rajya Sabha TV.
The bill proposes to give FMC financial autonomy. The parliamentary committee feels that the FMC should also be given operational autonomy to enable it to function in a more efficient manner. Mr. Chari, operational.
Yes, the operational side and the pitfalls that you asked. You know, this is very timely. This parliamentary amendment is very, very timely because, as was mentioned earlier, the volume of trading that is going up in these 5 national markets, and in all there are 25 exchanges in the country, the volume is going up in such an exponential way that we are concerned. I am concerned as a former chairman of the Forward Markets Commission. The danger of dabba trading or illegal trading, that is staring us in the face. Earlier, when everything was forbidden, everything was illegal, and everything was dabba trading. Now, of course, with the lifting of the ban since 2003, with the establishment of state-of-the-art 21st century online exchanges, everything has become legal now, and on the floor of the exchanges, legal trading takes place. But still the danger of dabba trading is there. And therefore, it was very timely and necessary to arm the FMC as a regulator to come down heavily on such illegal trading. And therefore, I welcome the amendment.
On the operational part, what is it you think have been left out? The operational autonomy aspect of the FMC.
Actually, if we talk about the international market, there is a concept of SRO, that is self-regulatory organization. I am just taking an example. In 1982, there was a concept of SRO in US. In the time period of till 1982 to 2007, the complaint of investors, it came down by 75%, and the participation rose by anything. So here the family is increasing like anything. In 2003, the turnover was around 1.29 lakh crore. This year, we are expecting 200 lakh crore in like entire market, commodity market. So we need more power, more strength, more resources to tackle these kind of turnover. So apart from FMC autonomous body, we are also requiring SRO part. So that many SRO, self-regulatory organization, they can help FMC to regularize this market. And they can do work on where the illegal practices.
Does the bill reflect any of these concerns that you are highlighting? Does it have anything to do with SRO? Has it included these self-regulatory or regulatory organizations as a supplementary body to FMC? Do you see that being represented in the bill or not?
No, this time it is not there, but we are expecting that by and by they'll go for this kind of amendment as well, which is the need of time actually.
Right. I'll bring in Professor Sanjay Sehgal. Both the points, the purely private point of views and practical, operational, on the ground feel of the entire sector. As an academician, do you see any pitfalls if the operational autonomy is actually granted to the FMC? Will there be any other issues that you think should be brought in at this point?
See, what is happening is the basic idea about getting these amendments through is that you want to promote an alternative trading platform to securities. And just the focus on, I think even these amendments will not achieve, they are very welcome. I think they are a little late, but still they will not achieve what we want to achieve in terms of unleashing the full potential of these commodity markets. Like Vannaji mentioned about SROs, actually SRO is a concept which has not to come only for commodities, but across markets, including for the security exchanges.
Yes.
And even though the bill does not explicitly mention it, but there is nothing in the provisions which can stop it, because FMC, once it acquires the statutory status, statutory status not in terms of that it doesn't have one, but in terms of getting a financial and administrative autonomy.
Then it will be able to.
Yeah, it can always make these bylaws and build up so that for the brokers and for the sub-brokers and the intermediaries, they can build up SRO mechanism so that the surveillance becomes better. Because world-class market mechanism, as Mr. Chari was pointing out, that we become world leaders, requires world-class regulation.
Yes.
But outside this whole process, you asked about the pitfalls. The pitfalls are that we need certain other support measures. I think the question you raised to me prior to the break was about infrastructure.
Infrastructure.
See, what is happening is there's a very serious infrastructure bottleneck. That's point one. And part of it has got to do with our fiscal treatment of things. What happens is institutions which are part of the commodity chain ecosystem, like your warehousing or testing labs for the quality of the commodities, such infrastructure-based organizations do not get an infrastructure status for income tax purposes. So it is, I think,
there is no motivation, there is no incentives.
Simultaneously, see,
and they are very weak and very important for the entire.
Problem with the policy makers is that when you look at or you're bringing out a solution or an amendment to a thing, you should take a holistic view. That is in terms of what are the fiscal reforms required, what are the infrastructure issues required, because if you want to give a thrust to a market, you have to give it holistically.
On that note, it's time for us to head into a break. When we come back, we will show you an interview with Dr. Suresh Pal, Head Institute of Agricultural Economics. Welcome back. My colleague Raj Kamal Rao spoke to Dr. Suresh Pal, Head Institute of Agricultural Economics, and tried to understand the future of this business.
Sir, the government have registered 44 futures in India. I mean, what is the status of futures trading in India? Is it going progressive, or is it in a decline state?
Still, these institutions, they are developing. So we cannot say that, I mean, whether they are good or bad. So naturally, it takes time to develop. Number of commodities, they are being transacted. Now they have trying to introduce the commodity derivatives also. So that way the markets are expanding, the transaction volume is also expanding. So it is expected these institutions will improve further. We are going to improve the governance of these institutions. So therefore, better functioning of these markets will basically help all the actors.
So for all the implementation of these government policies, farmers' education is a must. How the farmers' education is done, how it is implemented in India? I mean, do these farmers have the knowledge of futures and their trading?
Farmers, they do understand, they have access to information, mass media is really helping in them, both public and private sector. So farmers do understand the government policies, farmers do understand what is happening, but the point is whether we have the right infrastructure in place, whether they have the access to all these institutions, we are supposed to serve them. So there are a large part of the country where the volume of the production is basically increasing, but these institutions are not that well developed. Basically, government is investing, we have the problem of infrastructure, we have the problem of storage, and government is putting more and more money to make these institutions more effective.
The bill prohibits any foreign intermediary from dealing in forward contract in goods or options in commodity derivatives without a certificate of registration from the FMC. The parliamentary committee recommends that such participants shall not be allowed at all, as the forward markets are not yet ready for foreign participants. The question to you, Mr. Chari, is the standing committee justified in making that? The FMC, the clause there is that you get registered, then you can participate. The standing committee says, no way, that we are not yet ready to include them, they should be kept out.
I would agree with the standing committee. I think the time is still not come. I would like to emphasize one other point here. The need of the hour is to build world-class markets. And I think this amendment will result in the creation of world-class commodity markets in our country, which is the need of the hour. India has two advantages over China, and the competition is going to be with China over the next few decades. We have the demographic dividend in our favor, and we have the democratic dividend in our favor. We have the very robust democracy right down to the village level. We must cash in on these two advantages. And I believe that this amendment will help
ensure that.
ensure that.
I'll get in, Professor Sehgal. You were talking about CTT and STT. These two quickly, we are running out of time. What is it that you would like to?
See, I just want to make very quickly 3 suggestions. One is about CTT issue, because this issue has been raised a few times recently. In my opinion, as an economist, CTT, and even I would actually believe in disbanding STT for security markets. If government has to look at it as a revenue generating exercise, they must do it after the transactions take place through stamp duties, through your service taxes and other charges, but let the markets achieve their full potential in terms of liquidity before, and so that the price discovery and the price risk hedging mechanism at least works properly. The second part is that you cannot create a world-class market even with world-class institutions and regulations. We did that in stock exchanges. But critical issue is investor education. Unfortunately, in the security market, we lost it somewhere because there were multiple regulators in terms of education provision. There's a Ministry of Corporate Affairs which is doing an education program. There is SEBI which is doing it. I think FMC, being the lead regulator here, needs to take that, learn from that issue and set up a very, very strong investor education system here, because especially this market is meant for hedgers. I think education becomes even more relevant.
That's all we have time for, sir. Thank you, sir and ma'am, for joining us on this discussion. It is time for us to end the show. You can email your suggestions and comments to law.rstv@gmail.com. You can also watch our shows on the YouTube. We'll be back with a new issue and a new episode. Keep watching Rajya Sabha TV.